Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful Monday with us on Live with Lloyd. I am your host, Lloyd Strayhorn. As you see, we are going to bring on the beautiful Mama Mystic. She was on about a year ago. Uh, she gives a very interesting perspective as it relates to women, and today I don't think will be an exception. I do want to let you know that this week's show is being sponsored by Richard Woods. What's your number? These are the places where you visit him on Instagram, excuse me, YouTube. What's underscore your underscore numbers or dots? I should say, what's dot your dot numbers. He's on TikTok. There is his phone number 1-800-313-0866. That's 1-800-313-0866. And also sponsoring is STS, which is the Sisters of the Traveling Spread. All right. So if you want to get your reservations in fact, they're going to be the guests on Wednesday. That is Aquarius Maximus, Nina Diamond, Jazz Aphrodite, King Simon, I think, my King Simon, and myself, Lloyd Strayhorn. So we're going to be talking about that. It's going to be in August in New Orleans. So I've never been there, so it's going to be an interesting experience for me. But before we start, let me tell you about the forecast today. It is Monday, April the 17th, 2023. The sun is in Aries. Won't be for long, though, because the moon is in Pisces, and it's going to move into Aries at 9:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's 11 universal month. It's a 5 universal week, a 1 universal day. And if you happen to be a Leo, or an Aquarius, or Aries, or Capricorn, or Libra, or born on the 1st, the 8th, the 10th, the 17th, the 19th, the 26th, or the 28th of the month, this is your day. So without further ado, let me do this. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. When I had this young lady on, last year, it was about a year ago, and it was so amazing because, see, my clientele primarily are women. So I'm looking at women from a male perspective. She's looking at women from a woman's perspective. So, for example, I would talk to Mama Mystic. I said, she says she's in love with me, so and so and so and so. And I'll be telling you all these things, and she'll say, I don't think so. In other words, there are things that women know about women that we don't. It's like I can tell you when a woman tells me, since many women come to me, I can already tell you what's happening between the lines. So, this is one of the reasons why we need to have those connections. Excuse me, New York City is live and well with the sirens. But without further ado, let me bring on my very, very special guest. Oh, there we go. Hey, Mama Mystic, how you doing, lady?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fine. You always bring a smile to my face.
Thank
I
you.
had your wonderful husband on Monday, and we were kicking it around with what's in the stars and whatnot.
Um,
Question: do you read people? I know you're a womb consultant, a womb healer. Do you do readings, I guess, per se, or guide?
So I'm more of what I like to call an intuitive reader. So if spirit has something for me to share with someone, then I will. I have read people before just because they've asked me, but it's not something that I do that I offer as a service. But if I'm talking to someone, especially like in a consult, and spirit gives me a message to give to them, I will relay that message.
Okay, good. We will see if that fits. This is not readings per se, but to try to me, as far as I'm concerned, try to get a sense of what is going on with the culture. From what I understand, that
Mhm.
in the schools now, they're teaching more gender identities than reading, math, and arithmetic, or whatever you used to say. Okay,
Gender fluidness or something of that.
or whatever that is.
Mhm,
You
mhm, mhm.
okay. But I got my own opinion because I'm a guy. So my thing is, you know what I mean? I'm straight
Uh-huh.
with this. Um, but I think to tell boys that they can have babies anatomically and biologically, that don't exist.
Exactly, right, right.
That's like telling girls with their anatomic structure that they can make babies. So I'm a little confused, and I think the younger kids are here in New York City. They found out with a lot of protests that they have a drag queen hour where drag queens will actually come into the school
Every
system
books.
and read to the children. You know,
Mhm.
so I'm a little confused as to what's up. And then what I'm noticing, only because of the things recently about relationships, because everybody, Iyanla's talked about it, Queen of Fu has talked about it, others have talked about it. I've had it on my show. But the one thing I need to show the statistics, and also I don't know where this notion has come from that women, I don't know why they call it modern women,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
women don't need a man. So I'm saying, are women having babies through immaculate conception? Because I don't know how you get here without them.
Um, of course, no, but they are a lot of women, especially that I've come across, are making choices at a young age to have a child, and the man that they have the child with is, of course, they're young, so he's of course young and dumb, so he hasn't matured, so that's where it all starts from. But go back a little further than that, it starts from the music we were listening to in the early 2000s, the early 90s. It starts from men not being able to be themselves around us, to speak their truths around women. It starts from single parent households, mainly single moms, and you have the mom like bashing the dad. We saw a documentary. Actually, my husband did a video with it, where these women had to be like in the 80s, early mid 80s. They were talking about how they don't need a man.
Are you serious?
Just flat out don't need it, don't want one, don't want to work on the relationship with their child's father. And it's not like these men were abusive. They just didn't want to work on their relationships. They felt that wholeheartedly that they can do it on their own. So it's when you have a whole generation of women who feel wholeheartedly that they can raise a child on their own, you get what we have here, especially in the black culture.
Well, when you talk about young and dumb, I can relate to that because it's always been a given that girls mature faster than boys. So if a
Mhm, mhm,
16-year-old girl is dealing with a 16-year-old guy emotionally, psychologically, he's really about 12, 13,
mhm,
14, now,
mhm, mhm,
16 by age, but 12 or 13 by mindset.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so the point is they brought out some interesting statistics. I want to just show something that is and I'll read some of it to you. They found that 90% of the America's inmates are men, and 75% of those men out of the 90% came from a fatherless home.
mhm, mhm.
63% of the youth that commit suicide is one thing, but 5 times even more so if you come from a fatherless home. 90% of the homeless and runaway children come from fatherless homes. 85% of the children grow up with behavioral disorders, and 20 times more if they come from a fatherless home. 80% of all the rapists were 14 times more likely to continue to do so from a fatherless home. 71% of all high school dropouts was 9 times more to do so, inclined to do so when they come from a fatherless home. Now, wouldn't that, okay, see, forgive me for being maybe logical about this, but wouldn't that tell women who are especially looking for men, because women say they can't find men, and women, you know, and most of these fatherless homes that these boys are raised in wind up going in a whole nother direction, which means the society incarcerates most of the men.
Mhm.
Um, so I would think right there it would be very hard for women to kind of find a man. Um, the men are now more emotional rather than logical in the way our orientation has been.
Mhm, mhm,
So I mean, I don't mean that there's no controversy, but I'm just saying, like, yo, I'm concerned about the brothers. Okay. I'm concerned about the young boys um, who are growing up with no father. Are the women conscious of the repercussion of this? And did the
No.
women take responsibility?
Oh no.
And if my boys wind up in jail, well, that's because they need no dad, so and so. Looking at the statistics, or is that too logical in a woman's
It's
mindset?
so if that situation, a young man ends up in prison, it's because his father didn't want to be there. But when 9 times out of 10, she was making it impossible for him to be there by putting him on child support to where, okay, if he's not paying, he's going to jail, so that he can't be there for his child, and really concentrating on the financial aspects of being there for their child. When a lot of, especially if you look in the Black community, a lot of men didn't make enough to support, depend on his situation, to support him and his family. And as sad as it may seem, and I guarantee you that that hurts his heart, but it's just the way it is. It's just the economy that we live in. So he's getting all this taken out of his check, and he's giving you $34 a month, and that's not good enough for you. So the first time he stops, you send him to jail.
Well, I noticed that there's a lot of, and what I would encourage is comments from males, females, good, bad, or indifferent. What do you think? I'm sure there are some women that will probably don't like what you have to say, Mama Mystic, and
Mhm,
there
mhm,
are definitely
mhm.
some sisters that may not like what I have to say. But from a man's point of view, from my point of view, that so many of our brothers are in jail, and what is the cause of it? I don't think we were raised to fill up prisons.
Mm-mm,
Just don't
mm-mm,
think that is the norm. And
mm-mm,
the priority seems to have shifted. Also, I have clients because most of my clients are women, right?
mhm,
And women will tell me some things about, and I'll say, don't they understand what is happening? For example, I had a client who she was with a man, but she didn't want to tell her man that she was wrong. She told me though. She says, maybe I should have told him I was wrong. My thing was, and maybe I'm a man with the logic, why not?
mhm,
I
mhm,
say, "Well,
mhm,
I was wrong. Boo, this is on me.
mhm,
It's so hard for women, and it's not just African American women, but a lot of other women. Some other women seem to have less problems with it, but more so in our community that we don't even want to take the word. Is it because we don't know how to spell the word responsibility or accountability?
accountability. So, Black women, we have a large issue with our thyroid, and it's called speaking the truth. So, when you think about the thyroid, you think about the throat chakra. And even if you get scientific, medical, it lays between the fifth and the sixth vertebrae, the thyroid. It's like, looks like little lungs on both sides.
Hmm.
And it is blocked, and science has proven this, medical have proven this, is that it's blocked by not speaking our truth.
Are you
So,
serious?
yeah, so
That's
serious.
interesting.
It's blocked by us not speaking our truth, and the thyroid produces cortisol. We as Black people are like addicted to cortisol, stressful situations. We love putting ourselves in stressful situations and figuring out a way out, because we know that we can figure out a way. um but as Black, especially Black women, we don't speak our truth. So whether it's job, relationships, family, whatever, we're not speaking our truths, and a lot of times we're in our feelings. So we're more so feeling than actually speaking what reality is. So that's really what I feel is a huge block, especially with the women in society, is that they don't have a balanced control of their thyroid, so they're not able to think properly. Their wombs and their minds aren't functioning properly.
Really? Okay. I don't get it, but you
No,
know, and yet we are expected to be responsible
mhm.
and accountable. It would appear to me, don't the doors swing both ways
I
in a
mean,
way?
in reality, yeah, it should, but women live so much in their heads and so much in a delusional fantasy world that the government has realized, okay, this is how we can keep everyone separated, by feeding into her fantasy and keeping her out of reality, except for when she's working for me. and then making sure that I'm keeping him bogged down with all this stress and all of this pressure from society to be responsible, to be accountable, but to where I'm not holding her accountable to anything.
You know, it's interesting. Several years ago, there was a doctor in California who had experimented on frogs, a brother, and he found that when given it, the male frogs turned into females. And that when he told the lab or whatever, he was actually terminated. And so, are there things in the food that people and children are now eating or
Yeah,
drinking?
there's hormones. It's and a lot of, and if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it is estrogen. Estrogen is like mixed with something else helps with growing fast, like a rapid growth. So if a man is eating a lot of meat, he's eating a lot of estrogen. And let's double back to the single father. If he's raising around his mother, he's producing a lot of estrogen because she can't teach him to be a man. Like she can't help him produce testosterone.
So, therefore, it would suggest that a man should be in the house, or a male, would it not?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Correct.
Am I missing something in the math?
No, no, it's literally the simple fact that Black women have become so. It's like when I like we picture a Black woman. It's like our mind is just so calcified with cortisol that we can't literally think straight nor see how we are self-sabotaging and hurting ourselves. And it goes back. It's like she's more focused on her career, first her education and then her career, before she would focus on becoming a good wife or a good mother.
There's a priority list I'm going to show in a minute, but I would think that women who do not want to see their boys in jail or committing crimes beyond what is average, but way above average, that some of these things will shift. Now, as a woman, you tell me, this is a list of what is gotten, and I'll read this list off for people. No, and listen, ladies, by the way, I ain't trying to ruffle no feathers up in here.
Oh,
I'm
I'll ruffle
trying to
feathers.
rescue our boys. That's
I'll
all I'm
ruffle
concerned
feathers.
with from being in jail. Now, if you get mad at me with that, you miss the point, okay? Because then you want to know why you can't get a man, or your daughter later on can't get no man, all right? Because he's somewhere where he's not supposed to be. Education. That's interesting. You mentioned education as a top priority.
Oh yeah, education and her career are the number one priorities in a Black woman's mind. She will forego relationships, children, and everything to have that education and that career, mainly that career.
Um, Freedom festivals, girls trips. I've heard of girls trips, retreats, museums, and arts and crafts. I don't know about that. Wine tasting, three side hustles. I guess that means
What
having
is
more
that?
than one thing going on.
Oh,
Can
the
you break
new
that
the
down for
boss,
the brother, please? Thank
the
you.
boss lady. That's what that is.
What, number 11?
Yeah, three-sided hustle to where she's bringing all this money. She has all these businesses. She's a boss chick. They use a different term, but
And they would even rescue animals over and above protecting the boys, if this is the case. But what is surprising when it comes to marriage and husband and children, it's at the bottom of the list.
Mhm.
And during the 40s, 50s, and 60s,
It was number
our
one.
marriage rates was higher than any other ethnic group in this country.
Mhm.
I don't quite I understand, but I don't understand, if that makes sense, dear.
Oh no, it makes
All I'm
complete
saying.
sense. It makes complete sense. Because we are not taught, especially my generation, children born in the 80s, we're not taught to be mothers and wives. Like that literally stopped with it, my grandmother's generation. So my mom's generation, they're more the 60s and 70s, more so focused on getting that education and having that successful career, and more so competing with the man instead of completing him. And so we've really become indoctrinated in competing with men instead of completing them. So it's like you're going women a lot of women make a big deal that in the same field a man is making how much ever more than she is, because biologically, naturally, we're not supposed to be working in that type of way. We're not supposed to be out in the offices, in the spaces, whatever, wherever in the workplace working. We're supposed to be more so at home, teaching the children, tending to the farmstead. And then you also have women who are more so birth workers and dealing with the reproductive system. So then you have those women who work, but that's really like female doctors. That's really the naturalness of where we're at. But we've gone so far out of that, and people want to say, oh, that's taking us back to old times. No, that's taking us back to the natural state, the biological state of our bodies, where we're supposed to be at.
Well, it seems nowadays there's a push to feminize the men and have the girls become masculine. But since man has walked this earth for hundreds of thousands of years, I'm just mystified that at this late date in the 21st century, that God would make a mistake that boys being born want to be girls, and the girls want to be boys. Girls born want to be boys. I don't think the Creator has made a mistake like that after hundreds
No,
of thousands of years of doing this.
no, that's DNA alteration that's caused by, I'm gonna say AI at this point, because AI, artificial intelligence, is a whole entity that literally can put something on the screen right now that we will think is real, that we think that is happening in real time. So we've really, down to the meat, the food you're eating, down to the music you're listening to the TV you're watching, the video games that are out, the books that they're reading to kids. All of this stuff is down to everything, and then it's so acceptable for being gender neutral or picking your gender this day. I was listening to a video where the lady was talking about, on Tuesday her son feels like he's a girl, so he dresses and acts like a girl and he changes his name. He's like 6 years old, and then on Monday he acts like a boy, and it's like, no, your son has a penis. So, not saying necessarily needs to play with boy toys, because I don't feel that there's a boy girl toys, but he needs to be taught about his hormones in best way possible for that age. He's taught what he should be doing as a little boy, going out to play with sticks and hitting his brothers with sticks. That's what he should be doing as a little boy. Climbing trees, playing with glass and cutting himself. I don't know, but something just crazy, because that's what little boys naturally do. When
Yes,
you
we
start
do.
having them sitting down playing with dolls, that's producing estrogen. That's not what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to be literally outside playing with dirt, eating freaking dirt.
Yeah, yeah. Coming in ready to sit at the table with his hands all dirty. Neil, you need to watch
And
it.
yeah, and you're getting mad because now he's tracked mud in the house. Exactly. That's what a little boy is supposed to be doing. So it's like the 80s and 90s, they started coming out with gender specific toys. Well, you can't play with that because you're a boy. You can't play with that because you're a girl. Now, here 20, 30 years later, we have gender neutral toys, to where Barbie has a toy for little Brandon over here. And it's a little girl, but she might have boobs and could have a penis. I mean, I don't even know if they have a Barbie like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they have
They
a,
might be working on it. They might be working on
yeah,
the way
they
it's going.
transgender Barbie.
You know,
But that's the society we're living in, to where it's, to me it's scary. And I have all boys, and it's like, I couldn't fathom letting, like, I had a hard, when my 2-year-old wanted, I was painting my nails and he wanted his nails painted. I was like, it's just nail polish, but still, it's like, but for him mentally, there's nothing right now, but it's like sooner or later it will become something. So it's like, if he didn't have his dad here, what would I do? So this is where his father comes in to be like, all right, even at that young age, we're going outside. So it's like, Black women have gotten so lost in the train of independence from a man that it's literally destroying us, and it's destroying our children.
but the irony is we need each other.
We
That's
do.
the irony.
We do. We do. We do. We do.
That's
And
why I don't
until
get
a
it.
Black woman realizes that she needs a Black man, then we are literally heading for disaster.
And then the sisters want to know why the Beckys and Juanitas are taking our men. And if the
Because
Beckys and sisters want our men, don't that give a clue to the sisters what is happening?
because
No.
Becky and Juanita were taught to respect their man. They were taught to be a wife and to be a mother. They were taught to compete him, not complete with him. They were taught that I'm going to college, but I'm going to college to look for a husband and not look to further my education. I'm going to take accounting classes. I'm doing sewing classes. I don't have sewing classes anymore. That's a crazy thing. But taking classes to where my husband has his own business, I'm able to support him in that, but also run our household because that is a job in its own, running your household. Whether you're sending your kids to school or homeschooling, you as I don't even like the term housewife, but as a domestic wife, I have so many jobs.
Oh, it is a lot to run a house.
It
It,
is.
it
It is.
I know.
It
I
is.
know. I was there raising 6 children. It's a lot of work.
It
It's
is.
a lot of work.
It is. And it's like, in a certain point, I wonder if Black women don't want that responsibility.
I don't see why not, to perpetuate the family. But you
I
know what is also important too, and I'm sorry to interrupt because I'm blessed with 3 boys, 3 girls, right? I would think that the boys with the fathers to the males, I found out that a man in the house is even more important to the girls, the daughters.
Oh yeah.
And that's a sleeper right there. That's why girls make the wrong choices with males moving forward when they become adults. Um, some of my daughter's friends are like doing fantastically well. I said, "Wow, their fathers must be proud." And they would, and she would tell me, or my daughter, girls would tell me that majority of them don't know their father, never seen their father, never met their father. And I'm just saying there is in my mind, there's a total disconnect. Now I know I'm out of another generation. I accept that.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But there's certainly universal principles that go across the board with all ethnic groups, except
It should
our
be.
to be slipping.
Yep, it should be. But it's like, and I guarantee you, your daughter's friends who are like that, they've pursued more so in their education, in their career, than in their
Yep.
relationships and their family. They may have children, but still, they're not, their focus. It's not saying they don't love their kids or their children are important to them, but their focus is not on the children per se. Their focus is on furthering themselves in the career, which they think they're doing it for their kids. But in actuality, you're not, because at a certain point, your children are going to have their own path to follow. So you're still going to be working on this, and your children are starting their own career, not giving a damn about the path that the career that you worked so hard for. So it's like when people say, "Oh, I'm working for my son, I'm working for my daughter." Think about working to better for yourself, because at a certain point, they're going to be working for themselves.
I like to ask you this too. I'm hearing all this 666, 6 feet tall, 6 figure salaries. And I'm saying with these women saying they want these 6 figures, that their fathers come from 6 figures. And you and I were talking about it. My father wasn't into it's he was not until his early late 50s, early 60s before he made a decent amount of money. He had to put in about 10 to 12, 14 hours a day too doing it. And you said your father had to work his cookies off too.
Yep. Yep. It's like, in this day and age, especially women my age and younger, we really, they don't understand, especially if you're not coming from a two-parent household. You're really, or even seeing your father work hard, you're not understanding that he's not about to make money like this.
Yeah, it
and
don't happen like that.
and if you 32, 33, if he's 32, 33, and you expected him to have 6, 7 figures, no, I don't care if he's an engineer starting off, he's not going to be making that much. And so it's like, we really have to get past the financial aspects when it comes to looking at a man and look at his value. And I'm realizing that we can't look at a man's value because as women, we've already started to lose our own value when it comes to having, especially having premarital sex and just entertaining different men throughout our whole lives and not marrying that man. So it's like, women focus so hard on his worth and the money that he's making when you haven't realized that your value has diminished, because for many different reasons. But we don't take a look at our own value, and our value as women don't or is not in how much money we're making, because a man really can care less. A true man does not care about how much money you make. So your value doesn't sit in how much money you're making or in the education you have.
Why do
It
sisters find that hard to believe? And I've met many women that talked about the number of degrees they have, this, that, and the other. But that doesn't, because I'll tell you this, born in New York City, here's what I would hear the sisters say: what's yours is mine, what's mine is mine. So it
Oh yeah,
really don't make no difference.
that's like an old saying. That ain't no just
Yeah.
a New York City saying. That's an old saying.
Yeah.
And yeah, that
And so then they will wonder why we don't care. Because are you going to give us some of it? Are you going to
exactly.
split it down the middle?
Yep.
Are we going to
Men.
work collectively with our money? But to say what's yours is mine, I think that's a little, to me, arrogant.
Oh yeah.
Yours
Oh
is
yeah.
mine. And then I've heard a sister tell me she had 3 children. The next time I deal with somebody, I don't want them to have no children. Well, what makes him think he want to deal with somebody that got children? So I'm wondering how what's happening with the sisters. I mean, I don't, that's why you on this show, to kind of clear some things. Because I mean,
It,
listen, I want to say about boys. That's all I'm interested in.
it's we are in a state of such depression because, like I said earlier, we have built up like inherently cortisol, and cortisol is the stress hormone. Cortisol is what is given is produced when we are stressed, and because we have been like it's been passed down. It's like mom handles stress, but she's so strong, so she's able to handle it. But your body cannot, your mind cannot. And because we don't take the time to balance our thyroid, to clear the cortisol, to balance our hormones, to cleanse our gut, we don't take that time to get our mental right, then we have what we have now. And it's like a woman will focus, and it's like on the list that you have of the focuses of a woman, her mental health is not on that list.
That is so true. And that's what I thought about too, because there's some shows that recommend that, well, men too, but even more women get therapy. And I
And
think we think that therapy is insulting.
and no, like therapy is all fine and dandy, talking to someone is all fine and dandy, but at the same time you have to do something on a hormonal level, because what is keeping you depressed, what is keeping you in a manic state is a hormone, not an actual event that happened. The event causes hormone reaction, so you have to deal with it on a hormonal level. You can't deal with it just by talking to someone. And black women are very big on, oh, I'm talking to my therapist, I'm doing all of that. But what are you doing on a hormonal level? Because if you're not doing anything on a hormonal level, you are still consistently producing cortisol. That's the problem.
Now, question:
Hmm.
the cortisone right here in the throat. Well, what about the womb? Because you're a womb healer. Does that have a connection with some of
It
this
sure
too?
does. So your thyroid, your mind, and your womb are all connected. And
Uh-huh.
if your thyroid is messed up, your mind is messed up, your womb is messed up. You can go in any particular order. But if you have issues here, you're going to have issues here, and you're going to have issues here. If you have issues down here, you're going to have issues here, and you're going to have issues up here. So if you're not taking care of none of that, you're going
Would
to have
this
manic,
explain
crazy episodes.
the increase of fibroids in women dramatically over the last several decades?
So
Our grandmothers didn't even have anything like that.
no, 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 no. No, I found out quite recently that my grandmother had a hysterectomy at the age of 28. They didn't give her a reason why, but and this was after we started hearing about Henrietta Lacks. But I really believe that they took my grandmother's uterus to study her uterus, because this was around the exact same time the HeLa cells. They started studying the HeLa cells.
Well, that's what they did with Hiller,
Mhm, mhm.
Henrietta Lacks,
Yep.
and
Yep.
without her permission, and now her cells are in every petri dish from that school, that college in Baltimore that first did it. Around the world, her petri cells are still used to this day,
Yep.
and the family is starving in the midst of plenty. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep. And so
Um,
it's all our wombs, as especially as Black women, are so powerful. And I can't never, it's like it's my life's work to really let women know how powerful their womb is, and how you need to balance and cleanse your womb. And that, now back to your question about fibroids, is that that comes from holding a lot of anger in your womb. So you have anger buildup, and it's producing these cells, and they're just building up on top of each other, building up on top of each other. So now you have you literally ball, and it's caused from anger. Anger is, you can relate it to stress, and it produces cortisol. So you're literally, now your womb is producing cortisol, and it's calcifying. So until you really, and it's like you get on medications, you change your diet, but until you really address the deeper issue, balance of getting that your thyroid together, and eliminating stress as much as possible, and speaking your truth. And when I say speak your truth, not speak something that is truth to you, but something that is actually true.
In fact,
Correct. So not something that you feel, but something that is truth. And a lot of times the truth, might bring us shame, might bring us embarrassment, but you have to speak that. Whether you're writing it down in a letter that you're going to burn or send to someone, or painting or singing, or using your voice. Like, there's so many elements that we have, especially as Black women, because we don't speak our truth, because we don't speak, or we speak angrily.
why is that though? If we know this, if the sisters know this,
We don't. We don't. It's not something that we're told. It's not something that we know. We're just really. It's like, at the end of the day, I really feel like Black women are past this. Are are past this angry ball at birth, and said, "Here, you're supposed to be angry," and that's what it is. You can be angry at this, 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 and we're just gonna pile it all on you. And but at the end of the day, she doesn't have to be angry.
this is an interesting question that's at the bottom of the screen. I raised my three daughters to pursue education and career and not to be dependent on a man for finances. Was I wrong?
I'm not going to say you were wrong, because that's what you knew. I'm going to say that if your daughters now are looking to be married, to be mothers, teach them that, or get books. Because a lot of times we have to read a book. We have to read, because we're not taught that. So we have to read books about how to have a successful marriage, about how to be a successful mother. We have to read books. If you're, depending on how old your daughters are, give them books, um, because it's like you, yeah, being dependent on a man financially. I mean, that's a personal preference, but why not get finances together? Why not start a business together? Why not grow together and have a legacy? It's like Black women. What I'm realizing is that we don't look long term. It's like my grandmother is 80, about to be 84 years old. I have an aunt who is about to be 99. And my aunt, she had a 55-year marriage until her husband passed away. My uncle passed away. And she's alone now, because she's like, I'm in my set. When he passed away, she was in her late 70s. She's like, I'm not starting over all this. She had her time. So, but Black women don't look at, when they get older, how your grandchildren that you're going to be sitting with you, that you rate, that you have a counterpart to be along with, someone to sit with you when you get old.
And we
Black,
will get old if we live long enough.
we have no choice. And it's like Black women are so consumed with their education, their career, that's not going to sustain, that's not going to last. And it's like, in this economy, if you're working all this hard for retirement, you're not even guaranteed a retirement anymore.
And AI is knocking a lot of people out the box, such as
It,
the tech industry, fired thousands and thousands of tech workers. And
yep.
they probably knew that, I'm safe, not knowing this invention of AI, whether for words or for drawing or creating anything you want to.
AI invented itself. AI is a whole entity that has, when the IBM, the big old modems that took up the whole warehouse, that started, and it literally has just created a mind of its own, and now AI is literally its own entity. No one controls it.
That's interesting. Elizabeth Mardont said that was one of her number one criteria for being a mother was to be at home, to manage children and the home. Now, I guess to the new women or the 21st century women, I'll call it that. They call it mine. I'll say the 21st century woman. That may sound corny, but it has such a basic foundation to raising a family.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know,
But as we stated, especially on that list, Black women are not interested in raising a family. There's a difference in having children and raising a family. There's a big difference. Yep. It's like Black women are looking at it as being traditional and looking at traditional as being enslaved or prison, but you're not. You're building up your home as the way that you see it. You're raising your children as a way that you've researched and you know in your heart to do. That's what our nature is. You're supporting your husband in the ways that he needs supported.
and let me tell you, when a man finds the right, um, let me, I was thinking the other day the power of a woman. And one day I posed a question that if a woman didn't have a womb, what could you offer a man? Because that seems to be the thing that women think that they can offer, as if that's the only thing. But the power of love of a man for a woman, to me, is clearly illustrated in the Taj Mahal. When I went to India, Accra, the Taj Mahal, this man loved his woman so much that whole edifice is built in her.
Mm-hmm.
And there are only two people in that whole structure, him and his wife. And I mean, you would have to, for those that go and look up, Google the Taj Mahal, look at the history behind it. Such is the power of women when properly directed. And I'm saying the women, instead of just wearing a whole lot of makeup and how fine they can look and all this and that, and go get butts and tummy tucks and all that stuff,
All that stuff fades and sags at a point anyways. Like
well, call it gravity, okay?
it's like you're not looking Black women, like when you get all these nips and tucks and all that, you're really not thinking long term, because and it's like either you're not planning on living that long, like you just plan on dying at 40 to when everything's still tight. But at a certain point, no matter how many nips and tucks you got, it's going to sag and it's going to start dragging. We don't know what kind of complications that's going to have in the future, because we don't have any 80-year-olds yet or 70-year-olds yet that have had a BBL or a tummy tuck 30 years ago.
Well, I do know that I've heard on occasions of women dying going abroad to get tummy tucks or butt enhancements that never made it out of the operating room.
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
saying, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Because, okay, so you're nice, my male point of view, okay? So you got a nice behind, all right? Once I get to know you, think when I come in, baby, turn around, show me your behind, okay? No, what's cooking? How, you know what I'm saying? Those are the things I would be concerned with. And I don't think women get it. That is nice in terms of the attracting of a male, maybe, but if that's all you got to offer, that's not going to last. And I know there's some women saying, Lloyd, what do you talk about? I'm telling you, as a man, I think I know what I'm talking about. That's the difference.
My theory on BBLs, wigs, and makeup is that they were made popular by the transgender community, the men who wanted to be women, and women caught on and said, "Ooh, that man is looking better than me. How
Yeah.
did you do that? It's surgically. It's not natural." So that's my theory on the BBL tummy tuck. It's like, I know women get mommy makeovers and all that, but stop being lazy. Go to the gym, change your diet, work hard, have patience, get your mental together, and be done with it at the end of the day, instead of following a transgender man.
Um, this person says, can you explain why women's values have diminished?
Because our value lies in our womb. So if you're out having sex at 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, you had a child at 18, you're not with their father. You had a child at 21, you're not with their father. that's how your value diminishes. Because now when you get with the man, you're bringing 1, 2, 3 children from previous relationships into that relationship. You're and we're like I said, we're not talking about how much money you making. We're
Now,
talking about your value as a woman.
here's the thing, too. I've noticed that the expectations for a woman, a single mother of 1, 2, 3, or 4 children, almost expect this new man that she's found, that she's seen the light of day, to come in
And
and
take care of
actually
them.
take care of all of them. And then they want to know why that man isn't, as so we say, happy, and then don't want to give him a child too. I mean, because most of us men like legacies, okay? We are almost
Mhm.
every man wants to have a boy child first, especially in things India, like India, China, always a boy, always a boy
Women,
child.
black women are not prone to recognize legacy. Majority of black women do not know what legacy looks like.
That's interesting.
I get if you ask a black woman, especially my age, younger, your age, I guarantee you they know what legacy is. Is it an importance in their mind? Probably your generation is probably when it started to fizzle out. The for black women, not for black men, black because even to this day, black men still want legacy. They're still working hard for their legacy. Not black women, we can care less about a legacy. We want the travel, the house, the aesthetics.
Well, Queen Melanin, her response is that's because they don't love themselves or appreciate and respect their bodies. Because the whole thing, I got it. Because now I understand the whole phrase is what's your body count? I'm hearing all this new stuff. What do you bring to the table other than a chair or whatever the case is?
Mhm, mhm,
The
mhm,
body
mhm,
count.
mhm.
So what do you say in
Well,
response to
black
Queen? No,
as black women as a from growing up, we don't have guidance. And a lot of times what our mothers are giving us are not the guidance we need to conduct ourselves in a valuable manner. We're not having our mothers are not having the conversations with us about how our bodies are sacred and really drilling it into us. We're not having fathers having the conversations with their daughters about how the temple is sacred and how when you're going to be a man's wife of how much value it holds when you haven't had another man touch you. I guarantee we can go out on the street, get 1,000 men lined up, and I guarantee you at least 95% of them are going to say, I'd rather have a virgin than a woman who's been with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 men.
I don't think women get that either.
No, no, we're so much. It was so men are sleeping with a whole lot of women, so I can sleep with a whole lot of men. It's anything you can do, I can do it, and I can do it better. And again, it's competing with a man. And so now you're talking about accumulating masculine energy instead of living in your divine feminine energy. And that's what a lot of black women do is live in their masculine energy. So when you have these women out here starting all these businesses and being a boss chick, you're living in your masculine energy. When you're looking at your focusing on your education, on your career, you're living in your masculine energy. When you're arguing with your husband or your boyfriend, you're living in your masculine energy. And a lot of women, especially now, have confused masculine and feminine energy and feel that as long as I'm looking a certain way aesthetically and presenting myself a certain way, then I'm living in my feminine energy. And no, it's being able to alchemize the negative that you were given and alchemize it into positive. It's being able to meet your masculine counterpart, and if you need to raise him up into divine masculine, help him with that. Or it's being divine and raising your children, that's divine feminine. It's being in your household and having a peaceful household. It's not about money, it's not about aesthetics, it's not about what you can manifest. That's not living in divine feminine.
When a man works all day and comes home, he does want peace. And men will say that there's three things basically we want is peace and definitely respect. I
Yep.
don't understand how some women just don't get it. And it's because even like a lot of the brothers here in Harlem, would whatever, we always say respect. We do that to each other.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Sometimes we men would rather want respect from you than to so-called love us.
And
There's
my
some
husband
women that
tells
love
me
us
all the
too.
time, I would rather you respect me than love me.
That's what I'm talking about. I didn't even know your husband had that conversation, but that's exactly my point. Okay, that's exactly my point. With that being said, why does it seem to be a challenge for women to pick up on that and just say, use the formula? Honey, I respect you, and show respect.
Women genetically have a hard time respecting Black men. It's something that
Why?
has been passed down. Mother, grandmother, great grandmother has been passed down because of whatever granddaddy did. And it's like you can even go back to slavery times when men and women are separated purposely. You go back to the 50s and 60s where welfare come into play, and you can't get welfare if your man is living in the house.
That's true.
So it's like we've genetically inherited a hatred for Black men, but then we'll have Black sons and say that we love our sons, but sit there and talk a whole bunch of mad stuff about his dad.
And
That's a
then we want
society.
to know why the sons don't marry a woman that looks like their mother.
So we're living in a society like Black women, and I think I said this earlier, we're as a whole we're really depressed.
And the
And
family courts don't help
nope.
at all.
And it's like our depression, I'm talking about as a whole, our depressive state is being um awarded instead of making us hold accountability into healing ourselves. And like we mentioned earlier, I'm talking about outside of therapy, because yeah, you can talk to someone, you can talk to someone all day long, but if you're not assessing and balancing herbal wise and food wise your hormones, then talking to your therapist, you're just wasting money. Or you're just building a relationship with a new girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever the case. It's really therapy is literally if you really just need to talk to someone, not if you're trying to heal. If you're trying to heal, you gotta go deeper. You gotta get your herbs. You gotta get your herbal supplements. You gotta psilocybin microdosing. We talk highly about psilocybin microdosing when you're dealing with depression, um, and how it literally changes the brain and how we think.
Is that
And
why you wrote this book?
that psilocybin actually came after this. Psilocybin is why I am expanding on the book and expanding on why Black women especially need to heal themselves, and why it's so important to, when you think of self-care, think about caring of your mental state, think about caring of your womb, think about caring of your home. And when I say home, I'm not talking about making sure it's clean. Yeah, that's part of it. But making sure the energy of your home is loving, is peaceful, inviting of the ancestors.
That makes sense. Let me just show this list one more time, which I think is because, as they used to say back in the day, marriage and uh, having a mate and children was priority number one. That
Mm-hmm.
was a given. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so if you look at like my grandmother, I think got married when she was about like 12 years old.
Oh
That was
wow.
the South. You know what I'm saying?
My grandmother was 19 when she got
Yeah,
married. Both
yeah.
my grandmas actually, they both were 19 when they got married to my grandfathers, and they were married up until both my grandfathers passed away. My mother's mother, it was 20 years. My father's mother, it was like almost 40 years. So marriage is not, the longevity and success of marriage is not a priority. And when it comes to the success of us as Black people as a whole, it really is going to depend on the Black man and the Black woman divinely coming together.
Well, I don't know what's going to take it for that to happen, but I'm telling you this: if we keep going the way we're doing, the master plan, if you want to call it that, of keeping our boys separated and then heading to prison,
Yep.
and then when your daughters, because not all of y'all gonna have sons, but y'all will have daughters too. And when they come up and they try to find a guy, they're gonna have to go visit an institution, and that don't make no sense to me.
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
That
mm-mm,
really, really makes no sense. Now,
mm-mm,
I
mm-mm.
will say this in closing. because I'm going to put where you can get in touch with her and everything. Now, first of all, Mama Mystic, womb healer consultant, her website is Colombian Exchange without the E. Pay attention. So it's not a misspell. Colombian Exchange. Hood Mystic got me straight on that last week. So God bless his soul, okay? I don't have no problems, okay? I own up to my stuff. Your Instagram is mama_mystic911 in your Cash App. Is that $2 or just one? I meant to
Uh,
ask.
it's just one.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a correction. So, but that's it. $ Phoenix Nova 18. Let me do this right quick. But I listen, for those women who might feel upset or insulted, please don't feel that way.
No,
I,
check.
Go ahead.
Really, if you're feeling insulted or feeling any type of way after listening to this conversation, really evaluate yourself. Really evaluate the situations you've been in your life. Really evaluate the people you've dealt with in your life, because there's truth in everything, and it might not resonate with you right now because cognitive dissonance is a word that I love to use. Is where we hear information that's true, but we can't receive it. So it might not be the time for you to receive it. Doesn't mean that it's not true. So you can be all your feelings, but just really evaluate it. Really evaluate everything that you hear that you don't agree with. Evaluate
Like I hear those boys in the background, right?
it.
That's when a man comes in. See what I'm saying? That's when a male comes into the role. And I
Yep.
know exactly what Hood Mystics is going through.
Yep.
Exactly. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? So
Yep.
I definitely want to thank you. Hold on one second. I want to make some announcements, and then I'll let you have the last word, okay, for the sisters. And again, sisters, don't take this personal. There, I'm talking about our future, the way it is heading and directing our young Black boys.
It's a reality. It's realistic, and it's like we all want to take our hand out of the jar, but we can't. We can't. We all have to put our hand in the jar and just start lifting men up. And you told me I had the last word, so go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah, yeah. Hold on. I'll be right back. So everybody, I enjoyed this. Hold on. I knew I was going to enjoy this from day one, but I just want to make a couple of announcements. That first of all, please pick up Mama Mystic's Prime book about the womb. Also, I want to let you know that on Thursday, I mean this Wednesday, the 19th, the Sisters of the Traveling Spread will be on this show talking about the event that's taking place August the 17th through the 20th in New Orleans. Please register or at least go to the site stshealing.com. That's stshealing.com to inquire, to register, to join us. And all five of us will be here on Wednesday. I'm going to be laying in the cut. They're going to be out there up front. You know what I'm saying? But it's going to be fun. All of us will be here on Wednesday to talk about it. This way you can ask all your questions. What about this? What about that? So and so and so. So if you got any questions you really need to clarify the air, these beautiful sisters, along with King Simon and I, are there for you. All righty. I want to let you know that my audiobook, Numbers in You, is now on a discount. So please take advantage. The offer expires on this Friday. Just go to my website, lloyd-strayhorn.com, and click on the audiobook and take advantage of the 15% discount. Somebody asked, why did I say a star 8? Well, my thing is, you think of a star in the heavens with the number 8 attached. I'm an astronumerologist, so why not? Okay. So it's a star in the heavens with the number 8, but it's called a star8.com. Go there. In fact, the same time next week, I do believe iPhone users will be able to download it. But if you got an Android, you can do it now. Just simply download the app, go to a star8.com and sign up. And you should see how Miss Levine has put the website together. I mean, it's like, wow. I'm so blessed with the women I meet. That's all I can say. So I'm just telling you, ladies, y'all can do a whole lot. And so go to a star8.com and get it. Also, for those, and by the way, Mama Mystic, along with her husband, will be on my podcast at future dates. So for those of you who like to just listen while you're riding or listen to get something to go to sleep, I hope I don't put you to sleep, but anyway, go listen to it. And also my monthly newsletter is there for you. Okay, find out what's in your stars, what's left of April. And of course, one of my main supporters is always Brother King Simon, who will be on with us Wednesday. All right, so working backwards, please pick up your free monthly newsletter for April. If you want to go, all these are located on my website, Lloyd-Strayhorn.com. So for the newbies, it's spelled LLOYD-Strayhorn, Strayhorn. And this is one of my pride and joys. It took me a couple of years to pull this off. And it's nowhere near done the way I want it, but download it. Android users, you got it now. This time next week, I do believe iOS or iPhone users will be able to do it. And if, for those of you who want to listen to my book, it is a bridge because some of the chapters I wrote back at that time is no longer applicable. So it is a bridge. And also, please make sure you pick up Mama Mystic's book, okay, on the womb. And by the way, again, thank you for sponsoring the show, STS, so Sisters of the Traveling Spread. Thank you also to Richard Woods. And more importantly than anything, I want to thank my very special guest, Mama Mystic. You know, you cool, you know?
Thank you. Thank you. It's always a pleasure coming on.
Now, your last word, dear, parting words for the.
So, my parting words for you, for us ladies out there, especially as Black women, is to really, really focus on your mental health, to focus on cleansing your gut, to focus on clearing your womb, to focus on balancing your thyroid. Really focus on those things because that is going to clear out a lot and really help you in focusing, really help you in moving on in life and really seeing life in a realistic present moment instead of in your head type moment where we tend to be at.
Wouldn't it also include being very mindful of what we're feeding our children based upon what you said earlier in the show?
Very, yes, very.
The meats and dairy products primarily, I do believe you said. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
All right.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Anyway, I'm sure you ladies got a lot of comments for the sister. Okay, Mama Mystic. Y'all might have some for me, but I ain't no woman. But I'm just explaining from a male's perspective what I see going on. And because I have so many female clients over the years, the things I hear, I would say, no, I wouldn't want to deal with you. And it's not my job to dictate because that's not my role. My role,
mm-hmm.
you kind of see me, my role is to help a person with numbers and everything like that. But there's a lot that I would say we could never make it. We could never make it.
Mm-mm.
Nothing personal. I want peace. Okay.
Yep. And a lot of Black women don't realize that they're not that. And that's the reason why a lot of relationships didn't work out for them. But
what do you know?
I know, right? I'm young, so I don't know.
Yeah, but that's all right. And to your wonderful husband and to your 3 beautiful boys, God bless you. And I mean that. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you so much,
Pretty
Olivia.
much
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so tell her, Mystic, I'll be in touch with him soon, find out what he's up to at some point later, okay?
I sure will.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Peace. Thank you.
And everybody, I want to thank you very much for joining us. And don't forget, this Wednesday, the Sisters of the Traveling Spread. And if you want to get an idea before Wednesday, go now to stshealing.com. That's stshealing.com, sistersofthetraveling-spread.com. Find out the particulars, sign up, register, and any questions you got, you know what? You can do it on Wednesday when they're all here on the show. In the meantime, all of you have a blessed day. This was fun for me as always, okay? I enjoy these things. And so it's not always about the numbers so much as some other things that help is the glue to keep us together as a family, a unit, whatever the case is. Peace out.